If only there was a way I could take pieces of a tree and make my own segmented stock. Let me think about this. So look at what I just got. This was sent to me by Fine Buy Tools. It's a 13-inch thickness planer and it has the Helix head. That should be a great combination with the Helix head that I have on the joiner that they also sent me. It's an amazing smooth finish you get. Looking forward to seeing how this works. I'm going to walk up to the machine now and I'll point out a few things, and I'll flip it around so you can see the back side, and we'll hook it up to my dust collector and we'll run those boards through it. Before I get started, I wanted to point out that this is not an affiliate video. It's only my honest opinion on the machine. I'll tell you what I think about it. Also, I understand it'll be about a $700 price range. Seems like a good price since it comes with a Helix head. So like all of the planers like this, the head usually goes up and down to adjust for the thickness, and this is no different. And this will go down, and it's very finely geared, and that's good because you don't want to take too much off at one time. This gives you an opportunity to dial it right in. So I'm going to go up like that. Obviously that's the on-off switch. There is a scale here to give you an idea how thick you are. This will go up to 6 inches, a little more than 6 inches in thickness. This is an interesting feature. I'll have to put a board in there and show you how that works. Then this is a stop. You can set it for 0, quarter, half, 3/4, and 1 inch. It goes down and it goes against a little bolt right here, and I think you would probably need to dial that in once you made your first cut to make sure it's cutting exactly what you want at 1/4, and the rest of them should be on. There's a spring in there. When you push down, it'll pop into each selection. This is a button if you have an issue with blowing the circuit maybe under too much power, so you can reset it like that. I'll go ahead and put a board over here and show you what this is. So we need to lower that. Let's just start with that. And this just kind of looks like an arrow pointing down there. So when that hits that, you're at 0 right there. And as I crank down, now it's telling me I'd take a 64th off, a 32nd, and so on. So that's nice. If you put that in there, you don't know where you're at, you can do that and then know how much you're taking off. There is another feature that I need to show you. There's 4 bars that it travels on. There's a lever right here with some rubber kind of stoppers on them, kind of a cam action, and there's a radius in there that probably matches each one of these posts. If you pull on this, it goes in there. Now it locks it. So these planers, I think, can have a habit of drifting down if you're running it continuously. I wouldn't do this until I got down to the final cut on all the boards that are going to be the same. Lock that, they're going to stay the same. And you push it like that, and you're free to crank it down further. So I've moved around to the back side. Both of the beds flip up like this for storage, which I find very, very handy. This is the dust collector fitting, and there's 2 tabs that you line up like so, and then there's a place to put a screw underneath here on each one. This is set up with a 4-inch, and that's what my dust collector uses. But it comes with this adapter for a shop vac. So that would go on there, and there's a screw that holds it in place if you do use that. But we will be using the same 4-inch I use for everything else. I've loosened these up just for saving time, but they would get screwed all the way down. And this is a cover to access the helical head. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. That's probably good enough. So there are 4 rows of the cutters. There's 9 in each row. This should make a very, very smooth cut. So let me put this back together, hook up my dust collector. I'll move around to the front and we will start running some boards through here and see how it works out. Here's a good view of the hose hooked up coming from my dust collector. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and bring it down. Now that says it's going to take a little over a 64th off. Let's give it a try. If I can start up my dust collector. This is about as smooth as you can get. Nice and flat. Yeah, that worked good. So once I get everything close to the same, I'll just feed them through, and I'll move the camera to the back side so you can see them going through, but it looks about the same. That is just beautiful. No torn grain, it's just as smooth as glass. That surface right there is a chainsaw cut, but I did take most of these boards and run them across my joiner just to get them flat on one side. I think you can see here how smooth that surface is, and it is very, very smooth. It feels like glass. You can see I've got quite a bit of rock in here. It's probably about 3/16. The bottom side's pretty flat, so I'm going to run this through 2 or 3 times, and I think we'll be able to get that top surface nice and flat. There's the second cut. I don't think it's going to be quite enough, so we'll probably have to take a little bit more off to get it flat. Really helps to blow those chips off when they land on there. You don't want to put your board right on it. Alright, this is looking pretty flat. Yep, it's nice and flat. Alright, I'm set up to do the final pass on this board, and after I do, I'm going to measure it with the calipers on all the corners and see how it looks. So I'm going to stand behind the camera so I can measure this board, show you the calipers at the same time and not be in the way. So here's the board that we just sent through the planer, and focusing is going to be difficult, but I think we can do it. So I'm going to measure each end. I'm going to zero my calipers down, and I'll try to get this up so you can see it. So measuring right here, we have 6875. Now that's 0.6875. I'm going to flip it. And this one is it kind of bounces around, but that's 6875 to 688 if I wiggle the caliper. That's really close. I'm going to flip it around this way. We'll do the same thing. This one is 6875, and it jumped up to 8 there, 75. I'll flip this over, and this one's doing the same thing. It is 6875. So I would say this is really, really close. I'm pretty impressed with that off this machine. So now I'm going to get in front of the camera because I got to show you something else that involves setting up the planer. So I'll go over there and do that. Alright, what I'm going to show you, it's something that's called snipe. You can get it on joiners, but more so on a thickness planer. And snipe is if you run a board through, and the beginning of the board and the end of the board as it passes through can be lower than the rest of it. Not by a lot, but enough that it's probably not going to be what you want. And I don't know if you can see that on the end of that board. I put a pencil line in there. That's way more than typically you would see, but I just wanted to show you what it does. It'll dip down. And the reason that this happens is the beds are not set up properly. So, for instance, if you have this a little bit high, as the board goes through, it's going to take more off here than when it hits the bed and flattens out the way it's supposed to be. Going to the other side is just the opposite. That bed might be too low and it can leave a little bit of snipe. Now, I'm probably talking about 15 thousandths, unless it's really out of setup. This has an adjustable screw to take care of that. You can lower it and it'll drop. You can raise the bolt and it should hold it up. Both sides can do that. Now, that's not typical on a planer of this size and the way this is built. It's typical of a thickness planer. We had a very big 24-inch Powermatic thickness planer at work. Solid cast iron, everything. Great rollers. The cutter heads were stationary, the rest of it raised up. It weighed thousands of pounds. It did a good job. It would have snipe as well. And with that, you had to set the blades up perfectly. And the table, there wasn't a lot of adjustment to take care of that like there is here. But it did a good job. I wished it would have had the Helix heads on it all the years I worked at the pattern shop, but it had what we had back then, and it did it. It did a good job. So, you can get rid of snipe if you know you have it. So it's pretty easy to do. I didn't do any adjustment on it. This came exactly like this. So now we're going to put this stuff away, and I'll tell you what I think about this thickness planer. It also came with a couple of wrenches, some screws, and some replacement carbide inserts. The ones that are in there and those have 4 different cutting edges. So if you should chip the end of one of them, you can rotate it and you have a brand new one in its place. Should they all seem to get dull at the same time, you can rotate all 4 of them at the same time and everything will be just like brand new. That to me is quite the advantage. It's because, well, if you have blades, now some of the blades today have indexers on them. The blades in all of the machines that I used at work, and I had to set a lot of them up, it almost needed a dial indicator to adjust them properly. But my boss, who I did my apprenticeship with, showed me a neat trick that makes it quick. It's probably even better than a dial indicator to set blades up. But I don't have to set up blades anymore because I have inserts in here, and I'm really happy about that fact. I like that a lot. I like the machine a lot. One thing that I'd say that I don't like, and nobody's going to like, And there's nothing you can do about it. It's the nature of a thickness planer. They're loud. They're a lot louder. When you think about it, this whole box is almost like a speaker, because, you know, a speaker in a speaker box gets that sound and it sends it out. I never thought about it until just now, but maybe that's one reason they're loud. That thickness planer that we had at work, the Powermatic 24-inch, that was loud. You thought a jet plane was flying through the shop. That's because it was, you know, closer to my bench than what some of the other machines were, but they're just loud. Once I put the Helix head on that joiner over here that you've seen, it hardly made any noise. You didn't hear the cutting. So based off of that, I would say that the cutting, you're not hearing the loud noise from the cutting on this, because they seem to be a lot quieter. If this had knives, like all the machines I've used before, I think it'd be a lot louder. And of course, I haven't used those thickness planers for, geez, when did I retire? 2012. I don't know how loud they are anymore. I tried to forget all about that. But wear ear protection if this is something that you're concerned with, because there's not. If you want a thickness planer, I don't know if you're going to find one that doesn't make a lot of noise, unless you use the neighbors and you have him run the boards through there. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I like it a lot. It's going to work good in my shop because I can flip the ends up and I can roll it in this back room that I have over there. And it just got a perfect little corner that it fits in there. So I'm pretty happy with doing that, and it's also going to be handy for me to make stock for segments, to buy kiln dried lumber and to plane them all down to a given thickness instead of running it through the table saw, which I've done a lot of, or putting it in my milling machine and flattening them out. So this will replace all of that, and it'll also be handy for now and then. I've been asked to make some furniture pieces for our church and other people that might want something, and I enjoy making furniture. I used to make a lot of it. It'll be real handy for that. I've probably got a project I should finish now that I have this. I'm going to put a link in the description if you want to check this out. So I think that's about it. Again, this was fun to do because I enjoy these type of machines. And don't forget, this coming Friday, a new wood turning video. I appreciate you watching, and until the next time, I'll see you later.